Hello YouTube. I am recording a new video, and this is going to be based on my first subject that I like to talk about called power objects and how to create a power object. What is a power object? Um, One of the things I've come across in my journey is, of course, realizing that everything that we experience is something that is self-created. And another way to say it is we create our reality based on our belief systems, based on what we experience to solidify those beliefs. And I am a very logical person. I tend to believe so. So I like to explore why certain things work logically. And I've come across this power objects. So with the belief system that you create your reality, everyone creates their reality to benefit from. We're all creating these different experiences so that it can teach us to be, I guess, a better human. Um, and in the exploration, there's crystals, there's wands, there's different objects that shamans use, there's different objects that magicians use that are just generally they're talked about when you start diving into those aspects. But my question is wondering, like, why do they work? Why does a crystal work the way that it does? Why do wands have specific purposes? And I feel that I've figured out that aspect of it. And it's the reality of these objects is they hold no power. It's us that give it the power. So, for example, this crystal, I believe this is a quartz crystal. Imagine the very first person that pulled this out of the ground. It was a raw piece before they started faceting it. And they're holding it, and all of a sudden they feel something from it. Like, this means this. And then they hold on to it for a while, and they share it to another person. And they say to the other person, hey, this means this. And then the other person takes it from their hand and says to themselves, okay, this means that. That exchange that just happened, and this works in the same way as sigils as well. That exchange that just happened, you now have another person that is giving their belief system towards what this crystal means. It's creating a collective consciousness behind this crystal. It's creating a power object. So now that second person has this particular crystal and hands it to another person. Hey, this means that. Now there's a third person involved. Now that third person says to themselves, this means that. So now there's another collective energy behind what this crystal means. So it's collective intention, it's collective consciousness behind what a specific object represents. And knowing that the same principle applies to certain days. Mercury retrograde days. Like, how many people do you know that when they reflect or those days come through, they're like, oh, Mercury retrograde, everything bad's gonna happen, because they're tapping into that collective consciousness that Mercury retrograde is a bad thing. Why not use that energy and tap into that collective consciousness to transmute it into something else? Same thing with a wand. When I first got this wand, I paid like $200 and $300 for this wand. I had it custom made for me, simply because I was just instructed in my mind to get it, and so I did. And for a good while, I would never let anyone touch it. And the belief in my mind when I was going through that phase was like, this is mine. only I could touch it, only my energy can be on it. But the more and more I dived into that, and the more and more I started going to ceremonies, and I would bring this to have the experience of the ceremony as well, because I felt like this was like a part of me. I realized that I was limiting it. I was limiting myself. If I really wanted this object to do some work and to really be enchanted, why would I not share what the intention is of this object with another person? Same with this crystal. And this is all stuff that I was thinking of in my head. So I then started having the inspiration to allow other people to touch it. And in doing so, without me knowing, I was creating a power object, because I have shared this wand with over 60 different people, with a Buddhist monk who blessed it, and a Swami that blessed it. And every time what I would do is I would say to them, this object is to be used in energetic healing modalities. So when you touch it or when you hold it, send intention to it that this is what this means. So when this object is used on someone, I'm assisting them in clearing blockages. I'm assisting them in clearing any type of energy issues that they're experiencing. So by me handing this to the other person and they're then holding it, they're now tapping into the collective consciousness that I've created as a framework to work from. So now imagine there's 60 something different people that are giving this particular object that meaning. So there's 60 different people that are holding that vision alive for me, creating a collective consciousness, creating a power object. So now this object means that anytime it's used, it's meant to be used as a healing tool. So I use this in my healing practices when I do Reiki or when I do other forms of energy healing. And because of that, that's what allowed me to learn how to create a power object, or what it even is. And I never even heard that term before. It's just a term that came to me, and I want to define it. And this is the video to define it as. But this principle of creating a power object can apply to so many different things. Like, for example, the President of the United States. Imagine all of the attention and all the awareness that is given to him and what he represents. We are making him the power object. Same thing goes if anyone here who is watching this video is a teacher or an instructor to something. You may notice that when you're in a teacher role, all eyes are on you. And I'll talk from my experience when I teach and all eyes are on me. It's almost as if I'm more in tune with receiving more information so that I could then transmute it and speak it so that the people that are listening can absorb that information. They're creating me as an antenna, as a power object, so that they can learn from. And that's just taking the role of a teacher. And the main reason, the main intention of what I wanted to share this video is start analyzing the different objects that you hold, the different things that you have in your life. It could be something as simple as a crystal. Do you believe that it's the crystal giving you the power, or is it your belief behind the crystal because of how someone explained it to you, or did you read it in a book? These are really important questions, because what you'll come to find is it's you giving it the meaning, it's you giving it the power, or it's you tapping into the collective consciousness of what thousands and thousands and thousands of people have defined that specific object to be. So all you're doing is tapping into the collective consciousness of it. But what you can do by knowing that there's a collective consciousness behind a certain object is, because you have that knowing, you can now transmute that collective consciousness energy into something else in your reality. Same goes with sigils. I got into sigil magic intuitively without knowing what a sigil was to begin with. And then I saw a sigil behind the darkness of my eyes, and that's what the the sigil is on my channel of the Y, the three dots, and the DNA helix and the snake rising. Um, and then I come to research that it's something called the rod of Asclepius. So going back to the sigil talk, a sigil is a power object. Imagine there's thousands of different sigils, and there's these sigils that have been around for thousands of years. There's sigils that represent certain beings, uh, sigils that give you strength, sigils that represent the solar system, and all of those were created and then shared and explained, hey, this sigil means this, creating a collective consciousness behind it. When I facilitate sigil magic classes, I always let everyone know that, in my own opinion, it is your personal sigil that will always be stronger than any other sigil that is out there that has a collective consciousness behind it. Simply, I feel, because it is your creation. It came from you. So if I were to create a sigil that means strength, and then I were to find a sigil that means strength that has other people that are giving it that definition, what ends up happening then is I have to continue giving energy towards my own personal sigil to meet it at that level of consciousness, that collective consciousness that's created with the other one. But it doesn't have to match the exact same signature. It only has to meet at a certain space for it to be as strong as that collective consciousness, is the best way to say it, what I've determined for myself. So those of you who are practicing magic and sigil magic, really look into creating your own sigils that mean similar things of what you're researching, or what you found that has collective consciousness behind it. Because if you create something on your own and you go through the methods of empowering that sigil, creating a power object, because a sigil essentially is a power object, it's a power symbol, you'll find that that sigil will become more powerful than the sigil that you were using previously. That means the same thing, but was created by another person. Yeah. So I hope what I shared here can expand some of your awareness, and play with that aspect of what a power object is. Because if you share something with someone, say, like that sigil that I have, it means remembrance of who we are beyond our physical body. And I'm sharing that sigil with like hundreds and thousands of people, right? I'm giving energy towards the collective consciousness of that sigil. That sigil is going to continue to be as very powerful until someone else decides to make a sigil that means the same thing, and they then create a collective consciousness behind it. So then they'll start kind of like evening out, but within his reality, his sigil will be more stronger in his reality than in mine. So yeah, I hope this helped. If you have any questions on creating a power object, let me know. One last thing is, in magic work, I find it important to create a sacred space, which is, they call it, what is it called? A pentacle board, or some type of board that you perform all your rituals on. Because imagine all the rituals that you begin to perform on that board or on that piece begins to create a collective consciousness about what that board represents in your reality. Meaning, that board now represents sacred space in your reality, and it continues to build and build and build. So the more you use that particular object for performing your rituals, it becomes strong. Your rituals become stronger when you use it. So, awesome. That's pretty much what I wanted to share for today. My next couple videos that I have on my list, I'm going to read from the list that I have. I have Metatron's Meditations, which this is going to be 12 different meditations that have been gifted to me when I was first learning about meditation and yoga. I started hearing a lot of information and I would write stuff down. So these are 12 different meditations that I will be making videos on. I'm going to be making a video specifically on lucid dreaming. I'm going to be making a video specifically on astral projection, one specifically on rituals, one specifically on sigils. I'm going to be making a couple more videos on breath work and with this new camera. This is not my end camera, but this is just a intermediary camera that I'm playing with. I'm going to be going into crystals, kind of similar how this was talked about the power objects, because crystals are just intentions for placeholders of intention. I'm going to be making videos about sex, sacred sexuality, and how to utilize your energy to cultivate the energy itself, and then sending it and directing it towards what you want to create. Water, the chakras, being more in tune with our body, different elemental magics, and what else do I have in there? That's pretty much it. So this is going to be a period of the next coming year that I'll be working on these videos. I'm going to do my best to get them out weekly, and yeah, there's a lot more to talk about, but I just wanted to do this relatively short video on creating a power object and how it can really benefit you. Because imagine now I have this wand that has the 60 different people that have the belief system that this is a healing object. So now when I use it on people, it's a stronger belief carried within the wand itself. And then of course what'll end up happening is you'll get to a point where you won't even require to use the wand anymore. You just have to know where the wand is, and you're able to tap into what the energy is of the wand and use that same practice and that same collective consciousness, but now with just your hands. So it's a fun journey, because when you're in it, you're like, no, it's this way, and then you start learning along the way. Like I used to be so protective of this wand. It was funny, but I realized that was all coming from ego. So awesome. Thank you guys for watching this video, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed down below, and thank you so much. Bye.